Welcome to my channel. Take a walk with Goldie, guys. So today we are going to be doing a vlog. You know, we have been wanting to release this vlog for a while, but me being an emotional being that I am, I didn't quite think I can handle it. But this little mama over here decided to push me and encourage me to do it. So any thoughts about this vlog we're covering today?
Honestly, I'm just very happy we're doing it today.
Are you serious?
Yes. I'm just very happy we're doing it. It's just like, I was always waking up and then I was like, maybe today we'll do it. And then I realized today's not the day, but tomorrow might be, or maybe
But everything
next
happens
week.
in divine timing, darling.
I know!
Everything happens.
So now I'm so happy we're doing it. I'm also nervous. I'm also nervous. I know you are too. Deep
But I
down
love you,
inside.
girl.
I love you too.
Yeah, deep down inside I have a little bit of you know, a little bit of
Yeah.
but I think we can get past that, you know. So are you gonna be checking me out to make sure I'm not during the process?
If I see good, I will be good. I will just jump in.
Okay, so guys, today we're going to be telling a story. You know, it is one that is very personal to me and my daughter, but it is also a story that has affected a lot of people's lives, and silence sometimes doesn't solve anything. So we're going to jump into the vlog and see how it goes, okay? So be patient with us and don't forget to watch the whole entire thing, okay? Kiss, kiss. So today I welcome you to join me on a journey. Now we're going to be telling a story. You know, this story is not meant to discredit anyone's character, but to only point out, to help people understand the different toxic traits in relationships that you might face. This story is very personal to me, and I remember when I used to be on my live shows and people asked me about this particular topic, I would always shy away from it because there's nothing I hate more in life than people feeling sorry for me. You see, I've been through all kinds of, when I say there's nothing you can come up with that I haven't felt on my skin, best believe that. I'm just not a fan of playing the victim card or people feeling pity for me for a situation that if I was more emotionally matured, I would have been able to handle better. So sometimes you find yourself in the wrong place, wrong time, you know. But I could tell you one thing, guys. I have learned a lot from my experience. I am here. I'm telling my story. I would have preferred to wait till I wrote my book to put a few things there. But my idea for making this vlog right now are all the beautiful young ladies out there that reach out to me on a daily. You see, the topic today is we're gonna cover domestic abuse, you know, and there are a lot of young girls who reach out to me all the time, and they always say one thing. Whenever I told them they had to walk away or leave a specific situation, they would always tell me, "But Goldie, you don't understand. You know, I don't know how to leave. You just don't understand." And that used to make me so mad because one part of me wanted, I always said, "Trust me, I understand," but they're like, if you haven't been through something, how could you possibly understand? You know, and one part of me wanted to tell them that I had been through similar situations, maybe even worse, but again, I always cared so much about how people viewed me, and I did not want, under no circumstance, to be a victim. But today we tell the story. 2020 for me is a year where I had to go through everything all over again. I had to unbox boxes that were stored so far up in my memory, and this has been a year of release for me. Everything toxic, friends, everything goes this year. We are not gonna leave any stone unturned, and like you guys know, I'm making a series of vlogs that are gonna cover lots of topics, you know, that we face on a daily. So enjoy my story, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to my channel, okay? Stay tuned. So guys, a few years ago I moved to Romania for my university, because back then in Nigeria, at the time when I left, Nigeria wasn't the best place for schools. There were so many strikes, there were so many things going on. So my family considered it was better for me to move, you know. And like most of you know, I studied business administration. But like many other things, you find yourself in a country with strange people who don't understand you. And not too long after I was there, I realized that I had a particular attraction for dark-skinned men, you know. Sometimes that could put you in trouble. I wasn't particularly attracted to white men. You know, it's just a preference thing. It's not a racist thing. It's just what I like, you know. And a few years into my stay in there, I felt very alone because I was far away from my family, and you know, I just always liked the idea of love. You know, nobody really teaches you how to love, but you know, as a young girl, you feel like you should be in a relationship. And one day I walk into this coffee place, and I meet this fine young man. Now he was dark and nice, like he wasn't black, but he was light brown, and he tickled my fancy, you know. Although from the initial meeting he was kind of cold, you know. I asked him about the tattoo on his hand, you know. I had seen a little face, you know, so I had asked him about it, and he was like, he doesn't want to talk. And I'm like, well, okay. But during the course of time, we found ourselves in the same club, the same night, you know. And me, I'm a very stubborn kind of person, so when I saw he was like with his nose up in the air, I just backed off, like, I was even trying to give you some of this, you know, crazy young girl. But somehow during the night he came my way, and we got to talking, and we exchanged numbers, you know. So during the course of the next 3 months, I had gotten to know him a little bit more. He was very closed off. He had so many, back then I wish I understood what it was to see red flags, to feel it, you know. I knew something was off with him, but I was so carried away by his story, you know. And this is a guy that found himself in Romania, and I'm a girl who found myself in Romania. We're both single and both alone, and you know, I'm like, why not, you know? So as time went on, one thing I noticed is he was finding it very difficult to communicate with his family. So I helped him. He found an apartment for himself. At that period, I was working on my new home because I had just bought a house. So I helped him find the apartment. No, he actually found the apartment, and I helped him decorate the apartment because back then things were hard for him. So I helped him set himself up. And with time I noticed there was a problem talking to his mom because they had such a close bond. So I remember going into his store and getting him his first computer. My friend back then was like, how could you invest so much into a man you barely knew? You know, but there was something about him. I wanted to help him. I didn't want him to feel alone. And to me, if I didn't have the best of relationships with my family, so I mean, there was not that extra love the way I felt from him and his mom. So I wanted to help him, make it easier to talk, you know. So I got the computer. I set up Yahoo Messenger back then. We didn't even have Facebook back then and anything. And I remember how happy he was, you know, to receive that. Mind you, I had set up his phone. Along the line, I noticed that there were a few things, like he was very closed off. I hardly understood anything he said because he had that American accent, and back then, oh my god, even his name I couldn't remember for a while, you know, because I just didn't understand his tongue. You know, we started dating, and he always had a problem with me holding his hand. You know, he would always say, no, you can't hold my hand, or me, I'm a very hands-on kind of person, very affectionate, so I would try to stroke his hair and he would get so angry with me. He would say I am messing up his waves, because back then he used to have waves, so he would stay like 20 minutes trying to brush that hair down, you know. And honestly, those were red flags back then, you know. Don't hold my hand on the streets, you know. I didn't think that there was somebody else, because in my stupid mind, I thought, well, if I'm here, I'm loving you, I'm helping you, what else would you want, you know? As time went on, it became more difficult for him to pay the rent. I tried to help him for a few months, but then I decided, you know what? I have this amazing house, you know, why don't you come stay with me? So he was happy. He decided to move in with me. He literally came into my home with one suitcase, and for some strange reason my eye keeps bugging right now. It just keeps going down. I don't know if I'm nervous or something, but he came into my home with one suitcase, a small suitcase, the smallest size even. And for a while it was good. I never thought that life would have changed in such dramatic ways. I thought, in my kid's mind, I was 20 years old, I thought that truly if you love the person and you gave them all of you, that would mean that they should reciprocate that love, you know. It's only later on in life I realized that when you do things for people, you have to do it without expectations, because people don't always react the way you want them to react. They don't move the way you need them to move, you know. The first time I noticed there was any form of cheating, this is how I found out. So he comes over to my mom's house, and when it was such a fantastic day, he comes over, we ate, we laughed, we drank, you know, we chilled. And then when he left, he had 2 phones back then. And when he left, apparently he had forgotten one of the phones in the house, and I didn't even realize it, but he calls me on the phone like, hey babe, you know, but so desperate. So it was such a strange call, because it was so desperate, you know, like, hey, I left my phone at your house, please could you do me a favor and turn it off, because if you don't turn it off, the battery is gonna die. And it was just some strange, and instantly I go like, wait, huh? You're afraid you can charge your phone. If your phone dies, so what? You charge it. And me and my big head, my alarm bells rang, so I checked the phone. It was oh my god, you know, sometimes they say don't go looking for it with a candle, because you can find it. I never till that moment felt the need to control him or check to see if he was cheating. Like, that wasn't even a thought in my head, you know. So I looked through the phone, and to my shocking surprise, there were a lot of messages in there. Messages from random girls. You see, now I couldn't relate this to the things I had noticed before. So when I used to go to his house, I would notice little strands of blondish kind of hair on his bed, and I would ask him about it, like, my hair is brown and my hair is curly, why is there blonde hair on your bed? And he would always find a way to justify that situation. So I believed him. I was ignorant enough to believe him. So when I saw those messages, there were a lot of messages which I took screenshots of back then. Many of them were thanking him for such a fantastic night, and oh my god, how charming he was, and how they had spent the night at his house. So on the days when I was at my mom's house, because I was still moving and everything, he would entertain these random people, and some of the messages were very sexual, you know, with details. And I couldn't believe that, because this was my person. There's no way in hell this guy would treat me like that, you know. So I took notes of all the messages, all the phone numbers, everything, and I called him, you know, and he heard something was wrong, and he knew. The thing is, he asked me to switch off his phone because he knew the details of the contents of the phone, you know. So of course, like normal, we get into big blowouts, we get into fights, you know. And of course, he swore on Bible that nothing happened, even with all the proof. Like literally, I was reading about their encounters, and I was reading his replies, and it was clear that there was something there. But at this point, I had somehow created a bond with him, you know. And also the fact that I was lonely, it kind of pushed me to just closing my eyes, you know. That was in the first fight. The fights got worse with time. I had noticed later on that he had a good eye for photography. So I decided to, because he didn't have a job, you know, so I decided to invest in a camera for him. You know, I got him a Nikon back then. I can't remember. I think the D500 or D5000. I can't remember what it was. You know, I told him, listen, you can make money off this. You're not working, so you have this equipment. Try to create some kind of photography. You know, do something with it. And at first he started, you know, but he would always ask me to come with him on little shoots, you know. But then there were specific shoots he would do. He would go on, and he didn't want me around. And he said it was making the women uncomfortable that he had his girl there. So I would say, okay, fine, no problem, do you. Like, how should I wouldn't be the one to try to invest in you and at the same time try to break you down, so I let it slide. Months later, I would ask him about the photos, you know, like what's going on, and if he did do a professional shoot, like where's the money? Like nothing was happening. There was no money coming in from his side, you know. And he would always get angry, like, why am I in his business, you know? And there was once I had gone into his computer and I saw all these random photos, but they were mostly of half-naked women, you know. And I'm like, wait, is this why you didn't want me to be on that shoot? And if you did do a half-naked shoot, where's the money from it, you know? Because there has to be, like, I know women like provocative things, and especially in Europe, you know, women are more opened, you know. So I wanted him to justify, okay, you're going to these shoots, you're doing this work, but where is the it just wasn't balancing out, you know. There were so many friends of ours that he would shoot, and it was just weird. With time, our arguments got worse and worse. He would try me, you know, when you're trying a person, and back then I had a voice. Like, you could scream at me, I would scream at you right back, you know. But I noticed that with time, as we would have these arguments, he would become louder and louder and louder. Till one night, I cannot specifically remember what happened, what we were actually arguing about, and he decided to punch me, like straight up, close fist in the face. Like, all I remember is I woke up and I was laying on, we had a white table, a center table. I was laying on it, and the legs of the table had gone this way, and I remember feeling like very dizzy, and he was on top of me, so freaked out, so panicked, you know. And he was shaking me like, are you okay? Are you okay? I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry, you know. Then I felt the pain on my face, like he straight in the face. And I'm like, wow, my first instinct was, nah, I have to end this. Like, how did we get from me trying to help you fix your life to you cheating on me to you actually putting your hands on me? You see, if a man if he slapped me, I would have said, okay, fine, whatever. But it was a close punch. Now that was violent. He left the house that day. I think he went to stay with a friend, and for the next 3 weeks, my goodness, if I didn't get all the pleads and the begging and the I'm so sorry, see, my mind knew that was it. And this is my #1 advice to women: I don't care if it's normal in relationships for you to get into arguments and fights. But if a man dares to put his hand on you, you have to break up with him. I don't care how much time has been invested in it. I don't care if he hits you after 10 years, after 20 years. The second he dares to put his hand on you, you have to leave him. Let me explain why. You see, a lot of men don't even realize they're aggressive, they're violent, till they try it. You see, you allowing, they literally feel remorse, and this is narcissists, you know. Actually, narcissists don't feel remorse, but there's some people who would hit you and feel bad about it. They feel bad, like it hurts them so much. But the problem now is you accept it. So basically what you're doing is teaching them how to treat you. You see, the first time, oh my God, I'm so sorry, that was a mistake. The second time, he's gonna try to see if it's gonna slide. And if you keep forgiving him and forgiving him, guess what? It's going to become a routine. Because now you're teaching the man how to treat you, because you don't understand your value as a woman. Or, you know, you don't understand your worth as a woman, because any strong-minded woman would know that that was a toxic situation and she had to move out. Because there's no fight in the world you could have with a man that should make him put his hands on you. And vice versa. I don't care what your man does, you as a woman should never put your hands on your man. It's unnecessary. So now I'm in this situation. I'm in love with this guy. I've invested at this point so much into him, and I genuinely just liked him. So what do? Instead of me to back off, I allowed the space for him to come back with the messages, with the I'm sorries. I can remember when he flooded my mom's phone with all kinds of messages. Oh, I'm so sorry for what I did to your daughter. I'll never do it. I had this man in the front of the mall. Back then it was Mall Vision. I had him in front of the mall on his knees begging and crying tears, real tears, of how he's so sorry, he didn't mean to do it, it will never happen again, blah blah blah. Now time had passed, so in my head I thought, okay, we're good now, you know. He learned his lesson, he feels remorse, we can get back on track. And so we did. Now, he coming back with all the promises he made that this wouldn't happen and that wouldn't happen. When he came back now, he was good. For the first few weeks, it was amazing. He did everything I would have wanted him to do. He was on his best behavior. He stopped going out so much. Or we used to fight because he would go out in the evening and show up literally the next morning, 6, 7, 8 o'clock in the morning, you know, drunk as hell. This is why we had the argument. Literally, he would go out every single night. And guess who was paying for this outings? I was, because I had a thing of giving him something. So he would go out all the time. It was always, oh, why are you trying to keep me in the house? I gotta go out with the boys, blah 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 blah, 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 blah. It was always something. Now, I don't have a problem with a man going out, because at the end of the day, no matter how, even if you're married, you guys should still have a life apart from each other, you know. At the end of the night, you can come together and talk about how your day went, you know, and just communicate. I don't have a problem with a man going out. I have a problem of the hours at which he chooses to come back. And when you come back so drunk, so lost in I don't even know where, you know. So the first few weeks after he came back, he was good. It was really, really good. Like, all that doubt I had and the feelings I had about him cheating or doing things had just gone away, because he became the perfect person. Like, I can't remember myself. I was thanking God of how amazing this is. And then the second phase starts. After he realized he gained my trust, he went into phase 2. Phase 2 was becoming more personal now, because I had different females. When I say different females sending me emails, oh, I'm cheating with your man, oh, you think you're all so special, you're over there sitting like a stupid in the house while we out here partying with your guy, you know. And I would always confront him about this thing. Mind you, I'm a young girl, I'm not understanding anything, you know. They would describe him in ways I knew, okay, only if they had intercourse, they knew all those details, you know. They would send me photos of them together in the club. They would send me photos of of flowers. He would send them. And at first, you know, as much as I was angry, I still believed him, because he assured me, he swore on because he had a daughter before mine. You know, she was back in the States, so he would swear on his child, he would swear on his mother, he would swear on Bible, he would swear on God that nothing was happening, and that those women, he convinced me that those women were jealous of what we had, because we were the lovey-dovey ones in public. So he would convince me that they were crazy and just jealous of our relationship. So I would say, okay, I'll forgive him, I'll forgive him. But then on the days when something just wasn't adding up, he would try to shut me up with extreme screaming. And on the days when that didn't work, he would shut me up with a slap. He would shut me up with a punch. He would shut me up with, he would shut me up with whatever he thought would have kept me quiet at that moment. Few months later, I found out I'm pregnant. You know, we were having a baby. And me, I always grew up with the idea that families should stick together, you know. And that is one mistake I made, feeling the need to be in a relationship with someone who wasn't treating me right. But at this point, I didn't know how to leave, because every time we would break up, he would swear on everything that he's gonna change, he's a changed person, he's a better person, he's this, he's that. So somehow, some part of me craved him, you know. I couldn't explain it. I got pregnant. I was so happy and scared at the same time, because I wanted to be pregnant, you know. But now I'm facing a situation where I didn't know if he was the right father. This is someone that in the first few months of my pregnancy, he was always out at every hour of the night. Most of the time during my little issues, you know, like going through pregnancy, I was alone. You know, he would always tell me that he's only out there because he's trying to find a way to provide also, because mind you, at this point, I was the one taking care of everything financial in that family. So he would convince me of how he had to be out on the streets so he can hustle. If not so. When I was 7 months pregnant, I started receiving emails again from different random girls with photos and all kinds of things. And I remember this particular day, I had received this email. I was 7 months pregnant. And the content of it was so graphic. And she laughed at me. She called me all kinds of names and told me how she was going to take my man and everything. And when I say I was so upset that day that my cervix started opening up, I started feeling really sick, and I called him because of course he was out. I called him, I told him something's wrong. This baby, something's wrong. Like my stomach was going, I was so angry. And we get to the hospital and they told me of how my cervix was opening up, and I had the chance of losing my daughter. In that moment, I was like, God damn. I prayed all the prayer. I'm like, please. I stayed 5 hours for them. They injected me with all kinds of things to slow the contractions, because I started having contractions. And they had to find a way to shut me back, because at 7 months, still better to try to get the baby to 9. I was in so much distress. I remember cursing at everybody that day. Like, I remember when I got home that day, If I took a shower, I remember just standing there naked, and it happened to have been a full moon on that day, and oh, didn't I curse everyone out? I couldn't believe that they were so selfish, and he was selfish, that he couldn't give me just this moment of 9 months just to be at peace. Being pregnant is not easy. Your body changes in ways you don't understand. You're so hormonal, you're just cranky. He couldn't give me 9 months. Anyway, time passed. Kept hearing stories, but at this point I decided in my head, I said, listen, we're gonna give birth to this baby. And if by the time I give birth to this baby, things don't work out, then we'll have to find another solution. I had even planned to move to the States because that was my initial plan, but he couldn't go back, so we stayed. The day I put to birth, we had gone to the hospital, we checked the baby, and the doctor told me, you have maybe today, between today and 3 days, you give birth. So we get home, mind you, during this 9 months, I was the only one going to the grocery. I would always have like 2-3 heavy bags in my hands because he was always not in a good mood. He didn't want to do anything. I would be carrying bags, heavy bags. And I remember one time there was a woman that looked at me and she said, I don't think you love your child. I said, excuse me? She's like, if you loved your child, you wouldn't do this to yourself. Where's your husband? How do I tell a strange woman that my husband don't give two shits? Or my boyfriend or my lover back then, he didn't care enough to be there. On the day I gave birth, I remember I had gone to the store, I had my bags. Literally, the day I gave birth, I had my heavy bags. And I went home and I started cooking. And he said he needed to go to the club. And I found it strange because, bro, the doctor just told us that we might be having this baby today and I already don't feel well, but I'm trying to cook so you can have something to eat. And of course, he's like, no, don't worry. I'm not gonna be out for long. I'm gonna be back. Everything will be okay. I'm like, cool. He left. Now, 3 hours after he left, I started feeling contractions, like something wasn't right. I'm like, wait, hold on. I was struggling to cook and I was in so much pain and I was still trying to cook because I wanted him to have something to eat when he came back from the club. I started calling his phone. Not only did he go to the club that night, he decided to go to an underground club because they switched within the night. They went from location to location, you know, not being mindful. I called his phone for 2 hours, couldn't get him. I finally found his friend on Instagram and then, on Facebook, and then asked him for his number so I can call, and somehow they linked up. He came back home and he's like, are you ready for us to go to the hospital? I'm like, no, I want to shower first. And he's like, wait, you called me from what I was doing. That means you're not having the baby if you have time to shower. I said, listen, at this point I had gained so much weight. My whole pregnancy I gained 46 kilos. So I was chubbier, I was sweating a lot. I'm like, listen, if baby girl coming today, then I need to be there, you know. I need to be fresh and clean. So he's like, okay, no problem. Of course, on the way to the hospital, he was super sweet. And you know, all these things, he always had a way. He always had a way with me because a lot of people will ask me, so why didn't you leave sooner? You know, why didn't you leave sooner? But as much as he would do bad, he would do something sweet that would make me feel, aw. So it was always this back and forth. He was a very angry person, but he had, from his past experiences, he had his own issues, but he always knew how to get me. So we get to the hospital, our baby coming. So now we at the hospital. Our baby girl was coming. That was the most exciting thing. I remembered seeing him there with me because he filmed the whole birth. And he was so like, oh wow. He was watching everything and he was encouraging me and making me feel like a superhero. before we got to the hospital, a few days before that particular day, a few days before, he had told me, listen, don't go into that hospital and embarrass me. Don't go screaming like crazy in there. So that kind of stuck in the back of my head because I didn't want to disappoint him. So while I was pushing, you know, I wouldn't scream, but I would make this sound. I remember all I kept telling myself is, don't embarrass him. But when the baby came, he was so happy. I was happy. My mom was right there with me, so it was a fantastic experience. I had to rest a bit, and then I moved to my room. And I remember the doctor asking him, you know, because he was there, you know, he was celebrating. So I remember the doctor asking if he wanted them to bring a bed into my room for him, and he said, no, he had things to do, and he had some preparations to make, and that he wants to go to party. So he left in the evening. Much later, he left. He went clubbing with the boys to celebrate, you know, the newborn baby. So I was alone in the hospital. He came the next day, and at the same time, he apparently was preparing also a surprise for me, a welcome home party, which I wasn't aware of. So I remember that first morning when I woke up, I kept saying, is this gonna be me for the rest of my life with this baby? Like, I would have a man who didn't want to be around. But he came around, he picked us up, you know. And wait, did I leave the first day? I think I stayed 2 days in the hospital. Yes, so on the last day he came, he picked us up, we got home. It was a nice surprise party, you know. I was very happy. I was so grateful to him that, look at me over here thinking that he doing something crazy, but he was just trying to plan a party for me. Being home with the baby the first 2 days was not easy. Now I'm looking at this little girl. She's so tiny, so pink, and I'm confused of, am I even gonna be a good mom? I'm looking at her belly button and I'm confused. She's crying, my boobs hurt because I couldn't lactate immediately. My boobs were hurting so much, so we had to put her on formula for the first 4 days. But I was happy. I wasn't alone, he was there, you know. On the third day, at this point, now mind you, I'm cooking, cleaning, doing everything, so I was so tired because I even had to get a cut, you know, for her to come out, so I was tired. When the baby would sleep, I would go cook, clean, do everything because he didn't know how to do it, so I would do it. And by the time the baby woke up, I was always tired, dead tired. 3 days after I got home from the hospital, a few friends of ours wanted to come over to celebrate, you know, the new baby. So I stayed all day, cooking, cleaning, baking, holding the baby because he left in the morning. He had to go to the studio with his friend. You know, he was busy, hustling according to him. And I said, okay, I don't have a problem with a man working as long as there is results. You know, where's the result? But when he came back home, he told me he was going to be out for 2 hours. He left in the morning around 10. He said he'll be away for 2 hours, 3 hours. I said, cool. By 8 o'clock in the night, he had not come back. Mind you, I had to cook, clean, still take care of the baby. I had the baby in my hand. By then she was 5 days old. So a 5-day-old baby, 3 days back home. I was cooking, doing everything, preparing for our guest. And when he came back, by this time, I was furious because I had accumulated all this anger in the whole day. Like, what could you have been doing? But I always try to convince myself that he was doing it for us. He's hustling, so he's doing it for us, you know. I remember when he came back, he looked at me before I could even say anything. He said, don't go starting now. And I got even more angry because I'm like, starting what? You said you were gonna be here 6 hours ago. Look at the time right now, blah, blah, blah. He said, I'm going crazy. He starts to scream at me. He gets really angry of how, oh, look what I always do. I make him angry. I'm always analyzing. I'm always this, I'm always that. And I was holding the baby in my hand because he was screaming so loud that she woke up and started crying. And I remember him choking my neck and pushing me on the door with the baby in my hand. And he would slap me. I remember I got 3 slaps that night while he was still choking me. And he's like, you see, you make me do this. Because of you, look what I'm doing. He would always say it's my fault. I made him angry. I made him. Now the baby's screaming. I'm trying to breathe there because as he's holding, the only time I had a moment to breathe was when he would release my neck a bit so he could slap me. You know, I got 3 slaps that night. Oh my God. I got 3 slaps that day. And the only thing that stopped it was our guests finally showed up. They came and they didn't understand what was going on because we looked to the world. We looked like the perfect couple. We looked like the perfect Anis. We looked like the perfect couple to everything because he was the most charming kind of person. He made everyone feel so good and comfortable and cozy that this story, if I was to tell most of the people we knew back then, they wouldn't even believe it. That was 3 days after I got back home. With my incision, tiredness, maybe depressed. That was his form of keeping me quiet because I got him mad. Sorry guys, I had to take a second. Like, this has been my life for so long that I've walked through everything. I've walked through my fears. I've walked through understanding why I stayed in a situation like this. But talking about it now just brings back so many unpleasant memories that I can almost see it. I can see the face. I can see the anger. I can see all of that. So I might have to take a few breaks, stop doing my filming because I don't want people to miss the message. It's not about him. It's about what we allow ourselves go through. It's not about being a victim. It's about rising out of a situation. So as much as this video might come across as harsh, and he might think it's harsh, it has nothing to do with him. He is a big part of my adult life, you know, but I don't allow those things define who I am. I am such a better and stronger person because of everything I've been through. Yes, a lot of things might take me longer to open up to people because some part of me always feels like there's something else, there's something coming, there's something, you know. And the one thing I didn't do when I was younger was pay attention to my intuition. I always knew something was wrong, but I just didn't have enough willpower to break out of this toxic cycle. With the years passing by, I got deeper and deeper and deeper into this hole that all I saw was darkness. There was no lights, there was no, this was me, this was what I knew, this was all I knew, you know. So, sorry, I'm finding it hard to look straight in the camera. But yeah, let's continue.